Thank you. Mr. Wimpey, you and I don't really agree about much with regard to what's on the video. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
All right. And I'm going to probably throw you off a little bit with this first question I'm going to ask. But I think that you and I actually can reach an agreement on one thing. This guy right here is an asshole.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So at least we have common ground in one aspect of this case. So with that being said, let's, I know we went over a lot of the video on direct exam. I want to go over some of it again in detail with you, okay?
Okay.
Now this is State's Exhibit 12B. All right, so this is the part that I'm going to stop. He's obviously going to get the pool stick here, all right? And this is the part where you're indicating that your personal space is being invaded and you feel threatened by these two individuals as well as Mr. Richter, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Miss Whitfoth is actually in here too, and you just can't see her because she's blocked out, right?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Massad is seated behind you, is that correct?
Yes, he is.
And he came with you and you guys are friends, right?
Yes.
He's not reacting, is he?
No.
So, you feel threatened here by the presence of these two individuals. And even when Mr. Richter is walking over here to get the pool stick, Mr. Massad is still seated, isn't he?
And he's standing.
Or standing, but he's not moving in any direction at this point, is he?
I don't appear to.
And Mr. Richter said comments that directed to both of you, not just you. Isn't that fair to say?
I assume so, yes.
Because he said motherfuckers, right?
Yes.
Not just motherfucker.
These two.
These two motherfuckers, right? But you were the only one who verbally responded to him, correct?
Yes, but I was the one that had my back directly to him.
Okay, but Mr. Massad didn't respond, did he?
I'm not even sure if he heard it.
Okay.
He may not have heard it.
And that's entirely possible. Mr. Vasquez has both of his hands are in his pockets here, right?
Yes, he does.
Do you consider that to be an aggressive posture
Yes, I do.
with his hands in his pocket standing there?
Yes, I do.
All right. Now, much has been said about weapons being used in this case, and here we got Mr. Richter going over to get the pool stick, and he's pointing it in your direction, and Mr. Sharp has intervened. Is that fair to say that's what we've seen up to this point on the video?
Yes. Yes, it is.
And he's on the other side of the bar from you, because you're right here, and Mr. Richter's over here, correct?
About 10 feet, maybe. Yeah,
All right.
about 10 feet. Yeah.
Now, you were interviewed by Detective Goodlett in February. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And at that time, do you recall telling him that he swung the pool stick at you a couple times?
Yes, I do.
And now that you've watched the video, is that a fair characterization of what actually happened?
No. I mean, he's swinging the pool stick, and I stated that he swung it at me, and he's swinging it at me, and at that time, that's what I felt happened. I didn't have a chance to watch the video at that time. That was just off the recollection of my head, and I told him at the time it was a blur. That it was a blur.
And I'm not asking you this because I'm accusing you of not telling the truth. Okay, just so we're clear. I just want to make sure that, because we're talking about your interpretation of events.
Right.
Okay? And under your recollection, at that time, you were indicating that you believed he was swinging the pool stick at you, correct?
Yes.
And subsequent to viewing the video, you realize that's actually not the case, right?
No, I mean, he's still swinging it, and he's pointing it at me.
But you're 10 feet away.
Yes.
So you're not within striking distance at that point, correct?
At that point, but 2 seconds later.
Well, at this point now, you put yourself into striking distance, don't you? And you got your arms extended, right? So you're walking to the threat as opposed to waiting to see what happens, aren't you?
Well, he's being held at that time. At that time, I was trying to talk to him.
All right, so even though he has a weapon and he's being held, and you're trying to talk, he's not a threat at this point, is he?
Yes, he's still a threat.
So you're walking to the threat.
I'm trying to talk to him. Yes.
You're engaging the threat.
No, I didn't engage anything.
Well, by talking to him, isn't that a form of engagement? You're walking in his direction.
Talking to him, yes.
All right, you didn't walk away from him. You walked toward him, correct?
Well, I mean, there's no exit on this side of the bar either.
I
So
understand.
by me moving over here, I'm actually getting closer to the exit in case something happens that I do have to leave.
And so that means you were putting yourself in a position to exit if necessary.
If necessary, yes.
So when Mr. Richter approaches you, your back is to the door, correct?
Yes.
So at that point, you could have backed out through the door and still been facing him, couldn't you?
No.
You wouldn't be capable of doing that? You can't walk backwards?
No, I didn't drive and I'm with 2 other people. They're still over here. Where am I going?
Away from the threat?
There's still a threat though. I mean, am I just going to stand in the parking lot? I mean, I don't know where I'm supposed to go.
Well, I mean, the question is, at what point does it become mutual combat versus self-defense?
So the objection just calls for a legal conclusion, Your Honor.
It's a question framed not to draw to a conclusion, but it asks directly to the witness. The objection to overrule. Go ahead.
So I'm going to ask it again. You have your back to the door when he approaches you. Why are you incapable of walking outside?
I couldn't turn my back to that guy.
Why couldn't you walk backwards to the door? You can't push the door open that way?
Like I said, where am I going? I still have 2 people in the bar. I don't know where I'm supposed to be going.
Okay, so now we go forward a little bit further up. Now, Mr. Richter is still being restrained, and the pool stick is removed from his possession, correct?
Yes.
And that's Mr. Vasquez trying to step in between the 2 of you to shut this altercation down, right?
Yes.
And as we keep going forward, he's talking to you, and then you grab him by the throat. Now, you testified that he chest bumped you.
Yes.
Now, I don't see anywhere in the video where that occurred. It appears to the state that you're the first one to put hands on him. Are you saying that's not the case?
That is not the case.
So the video is inaccurate.
I think the video shows them chest bumping me.
All right. One of the things that you said to Mr. Ayad on direct exam is that you're trying to talk to Mr. Richter because he's half your size and his arm is in a sling. Correct?
No, that ain't what I said.
Well, you said that that's one of the reasons why you're trying to talk to him.
No, I said he's half my size and he's in a sling, so I don't know his intent. He's very aggressive. He don't seem to be worried about my size.
How big are you? How tall are you?
I am 6'5".
All right, and how much do you weigh?
About 290.
All right, so you could arguably be an offensive tackle for the Detroit Lions. Right? You're a big guy. So, in the circumstance where you later have your hands extended and you're talking to him, is when you told Mr. Ayad, you know, I'm pointing like you have a sling and you're half my size, right? I mean, you don't recall saying that?
I'm trying to reason with him, yes.
All right. And you're trying to reason with him using that, knowing that he's in no position to really do any damage to you. Is that fair to say?
No, that's not fair to say. I don't know what an aggressive person like that, you don't know what kind of damage they can do. Just because I'm double his size does not mean he cannot physically harm me.
I'm not suggesting that he's not capable. I'm asking whether or not you felt that was actually a possibility.
Actually, I felt like it was more of a possibility because he was half my size and his arm was in a sling and he was so aggressive. That there was a reason why he was so aggressive.
So he was more capable of harming you with one arm than with two?
I don't know what he has. He could have a gun. He could have a knife. I don't know what he has. There's a reason why he's very confident. There's a reason why he's very aggressive at me.
Okay. Well, if we go a little bit further, now we're here, so now you're ready to fight at this point, aren't you?
I'm ready to defend myself.
Okay. Against what?
Anybody that touches me. Anybody that comes into my personal space and touches me.
So Mr. Vasquez is simply standing right here.
Mr. Vasquez was just on my back.
No, he wasn't on your back yet.
Objection. That's not what the evidence shows, Judge.
I'll play it back. We can
Let's
go.
rewind if the objection is overruled.
Now, you knew that Mr. Vasquez was stepping in between you and Mr. Richter that before you put your hands on Mr. Richter because he was trying to stop the fight. It's fair to say. Isn't it?
No.
No. So when he steps in with his back to you facing Mr. Richter, do you feel that he's a threat to you at that point?
He is with him. At that point, I hadn't been touched by anybody. At that point, I had not had anybody touch me physically. So at that point, I'm not being attacked yet.
At that point, nobody's a threat.
I didn't say that. Everyone's a threat. If they're with him, they're a threat. He's threatening. They're with him. I have to watch them, yes.
Well, Mr. Wimpey, that's why I'm asking the question. If his back is to you and he stepped in between you and Mr. Richter, how is Mr. Vasquez a threat to you at that point?
On objection, ask them answered. He already indicated how he feels as a threat.
He was not a threat to me until he grabbed me.
All right. Let me ask you, let's go forward a little bit. Now right here, you saw Mr. Vasquez put his hands up kind of like, look, I don't want any trouble. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And then Mr. Richter, our buddy, decides he wants to engage you a little bit further, doesn't he?
That after he put his hands up in this motion, I went back to the bar with my eyes on Mr. Richter because he's still at that point still yelling at me.
Now let me ask you this. You know that Mr. Richter has grabbed a pool stick before, correct?
Yes.
And he wasn't afraid to step up to you despite his physical condition, correct?
Yes.
And you had just engaged in a physical altercation with him, correct?
Yes.
And you're indicating that you're concerned for your safety, right?
Yes.
But you go back to the bar to finish your drink?
When the hands were put up, there was a separation, and I thought maybe it was calming down at that point. So I still had Mr. Musad on the left side, right behind me still.
I understand that, Mr. Wimpey, and Mr. Vasquez put his hands up, but look who is still talking. Mr. Richter, right?
Yes.
But you felt comfortable enough to go get a drink at the bar despite this imminent threat?
No. No, it wasn't that I felt comfortable enough.
But you did.
That's where I was on that side, and I took, what, 4 steps to the left? Where the person that I was with that is driving is at.
All right, so there, now Mr. Richter again is coming toward you in an aggressive manner, right? And he's got a beer bottle in his hand. Who's the first person to make physical contact here?
That when he got within swinging distance of me, I protected myself from a beer bottle.
All right, now right there, once the fight starts to spill in this direction, why don't you please, for the record, explain what Mr. Vasquez is doing with Mr. Richter there?
At that time, what is he doing with Mr. Richter?
Yes.
He don't look like he's doing anything with Mr. Richter.
He was trying to wrap his arms around him and hold him.
No, it looks like Mr. Richter fell into him.
Play it through again. Now, he's got his arms around Mr. Richter, okay? And you continue to come at Mr. Richter on the video, correct?
No, he is holding Mr. Richter. He's holding Mr. Richter up.
I understand that, but his arms are around him holding him.
It looked like he was just had his arms on his back. It didn't look like he was holding him. It didn't look like he wrapped his arms around him. No.
So you come at Mr. Richter and the fight continues, and then Mr. Vasquez puts his arms behind your back, around you from behind, correct?
Yes.
And that you deem to be a threat?
Absolutely. I got someone I did not know touching me, and I didn't ask for him to touch me.
Now let's watch what Mr. Mossad does to Mr. Vasquez. All right, so Mr. Mossad grabs Mr. Vasquez from behind and puts him to the ground. So is that an assault?
I don't know law. I don't know what an assault is at that point. I mean,
Well, I mean, if you're interpreting Mr. Vasquez grabbing you from behind as a threat, would it be fair to say Mr. Vasquez would...
I can't speak for someone else. I speak for myself. What I'm threatened of anybody putting their hands on me when I don't ask them to.
Okay. So did you believe that Mr. Vasquez was attempting to cause you physical harm at that point?
Yes.
Let's go to camera angle 5. This is State Exhibit 12F. Now there's a part of this video that was skipped over during your direct exam. So we're going to run it through. Now the fight's starting to spill over to the left side of the bar, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Vasquez is going to the floor there, right?
Yes.
And now Mr. Richter's on the floor and you have him by his foot, don't you? And your arms are extended, and then you kick him in the face when he's on the ground.
No.
You did not kick him in the face.
And that looked like he hit his arm.
Well, you attempted to kick him in the face.
No, I attempted to kick him in his side.
Was Mr. Richter still a threat to you at that point while he's prone in position on the ground?
Mr. Richter was a threat from the moment he grabbed a pool stick to the moment we backed all the way out to the Telegraph Road.
And what did Mr. Vasquez do to deserve to get punched in the face at that point?
He came at me again.
He came at you or he walked in your direction? There's a difference.
At this point, I've done let Mr. Vasquez, after he once told me this, walked away, and I did not pursue him at all. But after that, he did grab me again, so in my head, I'm feeling like this is a man who is trying to hurt me.
Mr. Vasquez never threw a punch at you, did he?
At that time, I don't know that. I just know I just keep getting grabbed, and I keep getting tackled. I don't know his intentions.
Did he ever throw a punch at you?
No, he did not.
Now, we all saw Mr. Richter throw beer bottles at the truck. What's about to happen here, okay? And when we pay attention to the upper right side of the screen, you see Mr. Mossad come in first, and he knocks down Mr. Richter. And we'll just say, for argument's sake, that Mr. Vasquez throws a punch at Mr. Mossad. Mr. Vasquez did not take a swing at you, did he?
No, he struck Mr. Assad in the top, or in the back of his head while he was on top of Mr. Richter.
Okay. And why did you punch Mr. Vasquez?
Because he struck Mr. Mossad.
Mr. Mossad was not happy that beer bottles were thrown in his truck, was he?
I can't speak for Mr. Mossad. I would say probably not.
Well, what did he do when he got out of the vehicle? Did he say anything?
No, he went inside.
And why did he go inside?
I can't speak for Mr. Mossad.
Why did you go inside?
I followed Mr. Mossad inside
And why did you do that?
because he's the person that drove and I'm with him.
Okay, so you're going inside because he drove?
He just helped protect me. I mean, I'm not going to let him go back inside by himself with 3 individuals in there. At that time, I thought there was 3 individuals.
So you were going in to engage in a fight?
No, absolutely not. I was going in to protect my friend.
All right. Mr. Richter is running away from Mr. Mossad on the video and going into the bar. And he shuts the door behind him, correct?
Yes.
So at that point, he's no longer a threat because he's running away when Mr. Mossad's in chase mode, correct?
Mr. Richter ran away 3 times and came back every time.
But each of you guys could have stayed in the truck and drove away if you threw the bottles, correct?
And he could have threw more bottles, or he could have shot a gun, or he could have threw a rock. I don't know what he could have done
You guys,
at that point.
Your truck could have been hit by a meteor from the sky. Okay, a lot of could have, should have, could have happened, but the bottom line is, he no longer had any bottles in his hand.
I don't know that.
Correct.
I don't know that at that time. He could have one in his pocket. I don't know what he's got. He had 2 in his hand when he came out. I don't know what he's got in his pockets.
Do you feel that he's capable of catching up to a vehicle on his feet?
Yeah. I mean, we're right next to where you pull out on a Lexus. We have to stop easily. Yes.
couldn't drive?
We are right there, yes.
So you're incapable of moving through the parking lot with the truck away from him?
No.
So rather
You do
than,
not take your eyes off him.
I'm not suggesting take your eyes off of him. I'm talking about moving the vehicle. Okay, and you're saying you're incapable of doing that at that moment?
Of moving the vehicle?
Yes.
I'm incapable of moving the vehicle, yes. I'm in the back seat of the truck.
Well, isn't it because the vehicle is incapable of being moved because the driver got out to chase after Mr. Richter, correct?
I would say that I'm unable to move because, yes, the truck is stopped and Mr. Richter's thrown beer bottles. Yes, that's what I would say.
All right, and you can no longer, you're not driving, correct?
Right.
And Mr. Mossad, the driver's out of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And he chases him into the bar, and you follow him, correct?
Yes.
And it's as a result of Mr. Mossad chasing after Mr. Richter that Mr. Mossad gets punched, correct?
Yeah.
And then you respond by punching Mr. Vasquez, correct?
I mean, it sounds like we just kind of stopped at why we got out of the car. I mean, you're saying that basically you're acting like a stop when he threw the beer bottles and all of a sudden it's what we did, but we did that because of what he did.
I understand.
That could have easily came through the window and hit one of us.
It could have, but it didn't.
But the next
So my question, but you had no idea that he had anything else, did you?
I'm assuming he does. Every time I looked at him, he had another weapon.
So if you felt that he had a weapon, you felt it was more appropriate to chase after him than to try to get away?
I apologize, could you say it again?
You felt it was more appropriate to go after an individual with a weapon and engage rather than try to get away?
I was not driving.
I don't care if you're
So
driving, Mr. Wimpey.
how can
I'm
I
asking
get
you a
away
question.
if I'm not
Just
driving the
gentlemen,
car?
gentlemen, you
Oh,
know-
I'm sorry, I'm just
Thank
thinking.
you. One question,
I'm sorry.
then an answer.
I apologize. I'm not asking whether you're driving, okay? You're not linked to the vehicle. You're your own person, right? You're 37 years old, correct?
Yes.
You can make decisions for yourself, correct?
Yes.
So you're capable of not going into the bar at that point, aren't you?
No.
You're not capable of that?
No.
Nothing further.
Mr. Wimpey, you're not capable of going back into the bar, so that particular question, why?
I mean, because I can't turn my back, I can't just, we cannot just leave. He's not letting us just leave.
In fact, isn't that exactly what happened before when you tried to leave the first time?
Yes.
You testified that you don't know if he had, you said, quote, I'm assuming he had another weapon, correct?
Yes.
You didn't know how many bottles he had in his pocket? You didn't know if he had bottles on the side of the cars or anything of that nature?
No, I did not know that.
Did you still feel, sir, that you were threatened, even though at the time that you were in the parking lot while Mr. Mossad reversed the vehicle?
Yes.
You still felt that he could throw more bottles, possibly go through the windshield and go through the window and hitting you?
Objection is leading.
You sustained, you're not allowed to leave a witness. He's your witness.
Did you feel that a bottle could possibly come through the window?
Yes.
Objection is still leading.
Yes.
I'm not.
Yes, sir. Rephrase your question.
Okay.
The question is stricken. Jury's order disregard. Go ahead.
Why were you threatened? Why did you feel threatened, sir, when you were backing up, when Mr. Mossad was backing up?
Because a beer bottle came through the window, he could have shot a gun through the window. A lot of it, I don't know what could have happened. Anything could have happened.
What was the purpose of you guys backing up as opposed to just backing up and just going through the parking lot, backing up and going on the street?
Because at that point we felt that if we turned, we were giving him an angle to throw a beer bottle through the window and hit us. So we backed up so we could never take our eyes off him, so we could watch what he was doing as we left the parking lot.
Did you feel if you took your eyes off of him, he would do something more dangerous?
Yes.
On cross-examination, the prosecutor asked you if you felt that the hands in the pocket was an aggressive posture. You said yes. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Why did you feel that a hand in the pocket is aggressive posture by Mr. Valdez?
I don't know what he has in his pockets. He could have a knife, he could have a gun, he could have a bottle, he could have any kind of weapon in his pocket. I don't know what he has in his pockets.
That particular right before they go. Okay, so rewind that please real quickly. Right there, you see where Mr. Vasquez grabs you?
Yes.
Okay. And at that particular moment, who comes to your aid right there?
Mr. Mossad.
Okay. Did you tell Mr. Mossad to come help you or anything of that nature?
No, I did not.
Okay. Go ahead. So Mr. Mossad grabs Mr. Vasquez off of you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Let's you testified, sir, that you were going back in to defend your friend at the last time you guys went into the bar. At that particular moment, did you still feel that you yourself is still threatened with bodily harm?
Yes, and I also felt that if he went in there by himself, then I'm by myself too. So then what happens? If he goes in there by himself and something happens to him, then I'm by myself.
Did you feel at that time when you walked back to the bar, in your mindset, if you had gotten back into that vehicle, that you would have been safe?
No. felt like he would have came back out again.
And indeed, what did he do after he tried to leave the last time, Mr. Richter?
He came back out again.
Nothing further, Judge.
Mr. Wimpey, you keep mentioning that you didn't feel comfortable turning your back on Mr. Richter, right?
Yes.
Objection. I don't think that was the testimony, Your Honor, by this defendant. That's the word comfortable.
I'll allow the question. You didn't feel safe turning your back. Is that a better question?
No, I didn't
Thank
think
you.
so.
All right. All right. All right, so at this point here, one of the points your attention to the top of the screen, that's you throwing the bottle, right?
Yes.
And what do you do right there?
What I do, I'm sorry, right away.
After you threw the bottle, what did you do?
I was trying to leave.
And how did you leave?
What do you mean, how did I leave?
You turned your back to him, didn't you?
Yes. For a split second, then I turned around right
But
after that.
you said that you were scared to turn your back, and you're walking away like this. And that's because you're fired up because you just kicked somebody's ass, right?
No.
No?
No.
So why are your arms extended?
Because we're leaving. She asked me to leave. That's me leaving. I said, he should be the one leaving. Not me, but we're leaving. We love it.
So you leave at the direction of the bartender, right?
Yes.
And you felt that it was appropriate to leave at that time, but yet you re-entered the bar even though she told you to leave.
Yes, I was attacked outside too.
You were attacked.
Yes.
At one point in the fight, early on, Mr. Wimpey, you turned your head around backwards, didn't you?
Yes.
And when you do something like that, that's a sign that you're getting ready to gear up for a fight, isn't it?
That was me getting ready to protect myself, yes.
And who else's hat was flipped backwards at that point?
I don't know who else's hat was flipped backwards at that point. Okay.
The asshole, right?
Are you saying that I flipped my hat back? Where is that?
No, what I'm saying is he was acting in an aggressive manner, and you're deeming that to be a threat.
Yes.
And part of your perception of the threat is his posture and his body language.
Yes.
And by him flipping his hat around backwards and coming at you, he's in an aggressive manner.
I never said him flipping his hat around backwards.
I'm asking a question.
Manner. No. Him flipping his hat back around backwards was not an aggressive manner. It was the weapons and his actions with his hands, not his hat.
All right. So flipping your hat around is preparing yourself to defend yourself, which in other words is if you're flipping your hat around, you're preparing to engage in a physical altercation. Is that fair to say?
I'm preparing to defend myself, yes. If flipping I'm not sure if flipping the hat means that, but yes, I was preparing to flip myself at that particular time when I put my hat backwards.
Nothing further.
Just one question, Your Honor.
All right, sir.
Mr. Wimpey, the prosecution on recross just told you about when you turned your back towards when you were about to walk out.
Yes.
Could you go up to that spot, Mr. Savage? It's quite further. We'll have to keep going with this. All right, go back over there, please. That's, is that you, Mr. Wimpey?
Yes.
Okay. How far is Mr. Richter right there? Go back a little bit, please. When you turn your back on him. Okay. See where your back is, and him and Mr. Valdez is back here?
Yes.
It's quite a distance from you, correct?
15 feet maybe?
Okay. And then you turn back around, look right at him,
Yeah.
and then you walked out, right? With
Yes.
your speaking still to him. Walking.
Yes.
Nothing further, man.
Any recross, the limit issue there?
So you actually turned your back on him twice, correct?
When was that?
Outside?
KJ was watching. KJ held the door open. He was directly watching inside as I walked out the door.
Okay, but you had your back to him, correct?
But I had someone who was watching as I came out the door.
Okay, fine, but this is somebody who's an imminent threat to you at any potential stage according to your testimony.
Yes.
Anything could happen at this moment and you had your back to him.
Split second.
Even from that far away, right?
Split second. Yes.
Okay, so the distance doesn't matter, correct? According to you?
I mean, it would take him more than a split second to get to me right there. So, I mean, to me, turning my back to that split second, I knew where he was at that point. And as I walked away, you see me looking through the window as I'm walking away to see where he is.
Nothing further.
All right, so you can step down.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm calling any other witnesses.
The defense rests.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to take care of any technical proceeding outside your hearing, and we also have to talk a little bit about the scheduling. It is 2:20, so it's going to take 10 minutes for sure. Hopefully, we're only going to be about 15. So just, if you can, stay back in the jury room. I have to get some quick answers and take care of those technical issues, and we'll inform you as to what's going to happen next.
All rise for the jury.